All right, why is it I'm the only one who's like consistently turning up to these things?
We're doing shift work, Sultan. Did you not get the memo? We're doing shift patterns.
What the hell is a memo? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the FineCast. I am Sultan.
And I am Brap Scallion. And I know, Sultan, people will be thinking, where's that other voice? And we got another intro, but it's just me and you tonight.
Yeah, no gremlin.
No, Chris figured out today that he was on holiday this whole time. Like, it was the maddest thing when I just casually messaged in the group. I said, "Oh, we all good for recording tonight?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm on holiday, it appears." Like, it was.
I've just realised I'm in a new county.
Like, it was a surprise. Like, he just woke up and all of a sudden he's on holiday. I was just like, all right, fair enough.
More for him. He's missing out on better company than his lovely family.
Yeah, idiot. Why is he on holiday having a nice time in an exotic location when he could be in his hobby room sweating to death because you've had to close the door, speaking on a microphone with other bozos? It's his loss, Sultan. I say it's his loss now.
It's definitely his loss, but I am missing again, the audience never sees it, but just seeing through the grainy cam, a very sweaty bald man in a wife beater drinking drinking vodka or something.
He's like the ghost of Christmas Future. He's like, what happens to you if you just really, really get into Monster Energy and you cosplay as Die Hard? Like, if you watch Die Hard too many times and you've got a taste of Monster, it changes a man.
If all you do is smoke and drink Monster Nitro,
it's like he should be a warning label on tabs and cans of Monster. It should be him doing that weird grimace thing he does.
They have those nasty pictures on like smoke on cigarettes and stuff. Like that's it. It should just be a picture of Chris. Like we have holding a Monster Nitro,
and it just says, "Don't do it."
Yeah. It's like don't drink and drive or be gamble aware, that kind of thing. It's just got Chris and a yellow warning label.
It just says, "Not worth it, mate. Not worth it."
Don't let it happen to you.
But Sultan, it's only been it feels like a lifetime since I've been in your company, but it's been 24 hours, bruv. Like we've spent the weekend together. For people following along with the Hobbypocalypse and all that carry on, we've just spent the weekend filming the 4v4 season 2 Hobbypocalypse Bat Rep finale.
Well, yeah, 4v4. It wasn't 8 people. It was 4 people and then a cameraman, i.e. Winter's SEO from YouTube and Deployment Zone fame. And it was great. It was one hot, stuffy, sweaty room though. He has an aircon unit, which is a godsend, but you can't have it on whilst filming, and that room got reasty quick.
It was gross, man. Like, I think it said on the weather app or whatever, it was going to be 32 degrees that day. It did,
yeah.
But easily in that room, it was like another 5 degrees hotter because there was 5 lads just pumping out sweat and heat and the filming lights and everything. So I think I clocked it. It took us 8 hours to do.
Well, oh yeah, wow.
And 8 hours in that heat, it was the same last year, to be honest. But I tell you what, it's a testament to how much fun we have that it was a sweaty endeavour, but it was still super fun. I think, Sultan, we're not going to give any spoilers away, but I think that was the maddest bat rep I've ever been a part of, and maybe you too. It is so up there, all over the show. Like, it is, like, when I was thinking back, so I stopped over on the drive home, I was thinking about things that happened, and I kept remembering different stuff, and I was like, oh my God, this happened. Oh my God,
I've memory dumped a lot of it, so when I watch it, I'll be shocked again. But if people seem to be fond, those people who listen to the FineCast and also watch Winter's Bat Reps, they're very fond of people like me, like Brap, like Stylus and Monkey getting punished. And that game is just, it's not going to come out as 8 hours, but for us, it was 8 hours in a sweaty room just getting punished.
Yeah. Like, everyone was getting punished. Like, it wasn't like...
No one had it easy.
No, nobody had it. And it was like, whenever you felt like, oh, I might do all right, I might win this game, it was like, Nope. It would just swivel on a knife edge, and Winters made up some absolutely bonkers
Winters,
rules.
you mean Zinch?
It were the maddest rules. I think I said on about 4 separate occasions, this is the maddest game of 40k I've ever played. And also, in the 4 of us, so the Hobby Apocalypse, the Painting Challenge, the sort of DZTV Hobby Challenge that me and Sultan are part of, we're a part of it with 2 other people, Stylus and Monkey, our friends. And
both Welsh,
but don't hold that against them. Only joking. Shout out to my Welsh crew. But you get Stylus, and you are traditionally in the 4 of us the most competitive, I'd say. And I don't mean in terms of you're always bringing tournament lists or whatever, but just naturally competitive people.
We like a good fight, yeah. We like a good scrap.
You've got that competitive edge, and you sort of want to do well, and it's like it drives you. And me and Monkey are a bit more relaxed. We still can get competitive, but we're a bit more relaxed, a bit more chill. But I tell you what, you see a different side to me and Monkey when we're playing those 4 ways, because it's like because the problem is it's like wherever you position in the runnings, like that's going to be echoed for at least the next year. So it's like it matters here because we're going to talk about this for a year, and it's
yeah.
At any point, if we're discussing stuff on like a WhatsApp chat between the Hobby Apocalypse boys, Sultan just goes, "Well, I won the last one, so this is the point that I've made, and we're going to go with my idea because I won the last 4 way. Did you win the 4 way?" And you go, "No," and you go, "Well, shut up then." So
yeah, shut your damn mouth.
It's not only bragging rights; it's important decision making rights.
Honestly, all that matters is not coming last. That's all that matters.
That's all that. Sultan, I'm so glad you said that because that's all that matters. Because as long as you don't come last, like in the first game we played, I was like, "I've beaten Stylus," and he was like, "No, you haven't. You just didn't come." That was in year 1, and it was like, "No," he said, "No, you hadn't. You've just come higher than me." I'm like, Stylus, you were last. The master of tactics.
The
last.
Worst loser.
The worst loser. I am second best loser, and I'll take it.
We would tell you what, because everyone's probably got stories like this, right? Where they're making stuff. If you have any stories you want to share, drop us a message on the Instagram. If you can't find our Instagram, it's FineCast Podcast, or go to bonemagic.com and a link's there. And send us in a DM your favorite story of a group of friends playing 40k. Just because we love that kind of stuff, and it might be something like next time if we have some time, we can read out some of the hilarious ones.
That's a great idea, Sultan. That's a wicked idea. I
want to hear. Everyone can have a laugh.
I want to hear tales of betrayal. I want to hear friendship ruined by Warhammer. I want to hear competitiveness taken to the extremes. I want to hear all the tales of sorrow and joy from our community. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
But because it's me and you, we're not going to try and be funny tonight, are we, Sultan? It's a bit odd. We're just going to have a little chill evening. And what we're going to discuss, a little chill podcast. And what we decided to discuss is when we were playing the Hobby Apocalypse game this weekend, me and Sultan realised that the armies that we built for the challenge, which you can see, the whole season's up on DZTV now. Yeah. In month 6, you can see our full armies. I think we posted them on Instagram and all that kind of carry on.
And because this is coming out, sorry to interrupt your flow, Brad, but because this is coming out before the event, if you're part of the Deployment Zone community, there are still tickets available through the Discord to the Deployment Zone Open Day. And if you want to see our armies in person, you can go to that on the Sunday. So highly recommend you do that.
You're a genius, Sultan. You're a genius. Yeah, come see us at the DTT Open Day. We're gonna we're bringing both our armies from season 1 and 2. So if you watched season 1 of Hobby Apocalypse,
good reminder.
Sultan's now desperately writing that down on his to-do list.
Crap.
Bring Deathwatch. Shit. Dig out Deathwatch. But what happened was Stylus came to season 2 of the Hobby Apocalypse after losing season 1. Remember, he was the biggest loser in the 4-way finale battle of season 1.
Oh yeah.
He came to season 2 with a purpose, and that purpose was to kill us all dead. Kill us all dead. So his final list has got synergy, it's got cleverness, it's got a ludicrous amount of repentia. It is. He did sisters, and he's just got like 20 repentia and a 1500.
It's a silly amount, yeah.
It's frankly, it's rude. But me and Sultan, even before the finale and everything like that, it's nothing to do with the finale. But we realised that our lists were
Crap.
Crap is, but like, not, but it's like I figured this out, Sultan, when I was just like, I did like separate. So what we have to do is every month for the Apocalypse, you have to pay 250 points of an army, and you collect it to a 1,500 point army. And what I did to figure that out right at the start, right in like, I think this was like September of last year when we were starting to. I think it was when the Krieg kit came out. I said, right, I'm doing Krieg. So what I did was I did separate battle scribe lists for each month just so I could figure it out and then put it all together. And then when I put it together, I realized that I hadn't even made a legal army. so like I have got like one too many heavy support choices or something. So I had to explain that, and I had to pay 2 CP just to bring a tank because I was that like bad at figuring out like my army. and then as Sultan made a few comments when we were filming. He was like, maybe this wouldn't work, that wouldn't work. So with his Drakari, and he's like, oh, maybe I'd do this better, maybe I'd do that better. So what we're gonna do is the topic and the vibe that we're gonna chat on tonight is how do you make a list, and the tips and tricks that we've learned coming up in Warhammer is how do you start an army and make a list, but also if you've got loads of models and you've got a bit of option paralysis, how do you make a list from your existing armies?
How do you theme an army?
Fun? Yeah. So Sultan, what we're gonna do is we'll start off with you because you're the king of new armies.
Love it.
You're, for some reason, you're the king of new Space Marine armies. You cannot
just
get
keep
enough
making Space Marines,
of chapters of Space Marines. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with you, and you have just recently started collecting salamanders, yeah?
I have, yeah. In the same year I started White Scars.
It's just like, one Marine's not enough. Even if you limited yourself to like a Marine army a year, it would make some kind of sense. But you just get the itch, just like, no, I'm collecting Marines, but I need more Marines. So yeah, what we'll do then is we'll start with White Scars because we'll come back to salamanders. But you've recently just finished your White Scars army. I say finished in air quotes because
very close. Yeah.
But explain how many points, what you've got. Explain. Just tell us a little bit about it and how you come up with the list.
All right. So, not to teach anyone to suck any eggs, but White Scars move quick. That's their thing. They love their bikes. They're based on like the horse riders from the Mongolian horse archers. That's kind of like their theme that GW went with way back in the day. So I decided to go for I like making 2,000 point lists because that's a complete army and it's pretty versatile, and you can make 1,000, 1,500 and then 2,000 point lists out of it, which is lovely. So I went full fast. So naturally it's an outrider attachment for 40k. So loads of fast attack. So I just thought, well, what can I get in a fast attack? So I thought bikes, ATVs for a bit of a change up, and you can also get your anti-tank. So just went fully fast. 2 storm speeders because they're fast and they can be anti-tank, anti-infantry, whatever you want to load them out as. So I've already got the versatility there of some combat choppy bikes, some horde killing or vehicle killing speeders, and some vehicle or horde killing ATVs. So like, okay, in terms of the game, got loads of versatility, and in terms of theme, it's all just super quick, and that already brings you up to like over 1,000 points easily. So that was 6 ATVs, 6 bikes, and 2 speeders, and that's your fast slots basically done. And then I was chatting to Stylus because I was trying to figure out, right, how do I get some OBSEC in there, because I do want to play a game where I'm not crushed immediately. And playing at someone like Winters, he crushes you immediately if you don't bring the troops. So what we came up with is, why don't use those Phobos guys, the ones you can forward deploy, because then it makes sense that they're not on bikes because they've been dropped in ahead of time. They're holding the objectives and the bikes are linking up with them. So this theme started forming there. I was like, right, I wanted it to be fast, but I need to be realistic with, not getting crushed in the game. So I put some troops in, and then naturally falling out was a librarian as well, because I thought, cool, that's a HQ to sit with the Phobos. And then narratively, makes sense. Librarians leading 10 Phobos dudes. They're minding their own business out there. And then the spearhead outrider detachment is led by a Khan on a bike. There's a chaplain on a bike. So everyone's on bikes. Everyone's flying around having a great time. And then the only other things were I found some of those big Terminators in black armor, the Keshig from Forge World, and I love them, so I wanted them. And I thought, you know what, they can teleport in. They're the only bit that's not fully themed. But all I thought about was theme equals fast, and then I actually made it work within the rules of the game afterwards. So that's how I do it.
So yeah, so what you've done is you've stuck with a theme, but also, I think that's the key thing that you've said there is you need to, if you're starting off collecting a new army, have a plan in mind of what you want the force to look like or
look
how
at
you
their
want
lore
it to behave. But you also make a good point as well, is that you also, within the confines of that, you also need to have some utility in there and the way the army can play, so that although it might be quite heavily themed towards one thing, you've got ways of playing. Because as people know from me, like I play like super chill 40k, I play like crazy easy games. My local meta is nice and easy. I'm
Love
not
it.
a big I'm not a tournament player. I'm not even that competitive really. But having said that, especially when you're starting a new army, you still need it to work, because if it doesn't provide you with satisfaction in ways of dealing with different problems, what you're going to find is you're not going to like that army, because it's going to feel like, because I don't care that much about winning, but everyone likes to win. It's always a better feeling than losing.
You don't want to have those models you spent days and days and days on getting smashed off the table in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. You want it to be a fun experience, don't you? And you want to feel like you're getting some use of their models and they're doing their job quite well, or they're you've got a tool to deal with a problem on the tabletop. It's not necessarily like this unit's going to help me win, but it's just a case of, like you said, with like anti-tank, it's like you need. I think the main thing is you need, when you start an army, is think of a cool theme, and then you ask yourself the questions: can it take on armor? Can it take on horde? Does it have troops?
Yeah.
And if you can figure out those three things, that's the only three. Everything else is just table dressing. Like it doesn't matter if that applies to combat, that applies to shooting. It could apply to psychic. It's anything you want. It's just, can you deal with those problems from the start? And if you build an army on that, like for you, Sultan, like figuring out that, like the troop situation, like OBSEC, is,
Yeah.
you're right. Like if you go onto an objective, you need to be able to get onto objectives and hold them, because if you're playing a Tempest of War game, or you're playing the traditional secondary,
it's the entire game.
Yeah, right. And it's like, it's all good having a themed army and riding around on jet bikes and stuff, but then it's like, you might, what I'm saying is, if you're starting off a collection, it's good to start it off from a really solid base, because you don't have to take troops all the time, but you do need them, I think, to start off with, so you're ready for anything.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking 100% from making just like from the get-go going, this is my finish list, this is my 2,000 point list I want to make. And that's how I like to make my Space Marine armies specifically. That's absolutely that's not the right way to do it. It's not the wrong way to do it. It's just my way of doing it. But I also love the toolbox method of just going, right, I need 3 lots of troops so I can always do a battalion, 2 HQs, and then from then on do what I like. So that's another way of doing it too.
But I think you pretty much did that with your White Scars as well, right? Like you sort of thought of a theme, like you thought fast, but then you made sure you had that battalion from the start, didn't you? Have you got like 3 squads of 5?
No.
Or is it weird?
It's weird. It's a patrol and an outrider, so I'm already spending 3 CP to even start. But you know, my dog's squeaking. He's decided now's the time to bite on his chew toy.
Don't lie. We know it. We know it's your secret toys. But but you've got like, in that you've got like 2 HQ, right? Or 1 HQ? Yeah, you've
3.
Right. So but what I'm saying is, you've got you've got at least 2 HQ, and you've got 2 troop slots, so it's not too far to make it like a battalion. I always say, like, we're only talking about Space Marines here, but I always think that, like, get a battalion and go forward, but then you just like extrapolate on the theme. So I'm trying to think, like, you can do it with any army, but I think the theme in mind is important when you're first starting out.
Oh yeah.
But I think as well, we'll come back to the salamanders, because I want to hear your approach on salamanders.
Okay.
But then let's go to salamanders now. So that's another new army. Sultan's second new Space Marine. Also, by the way, if anybody hasn't seen these, go on to Sultan's Instagram Is it Sultan plays 40k?
Sultan plays 40k, yeah.
Look at his white scars; they are impeccable. His salamanders are good as well, but his white
Thank
scars
you.
are probably my favorite thing he's done. His white scars are sick.
They
so
take
good.
so much less time compared to the salamanders too.
Oh, mate, how annoying is it when you do when you've got models that are like speed painting or whatever, and people say these are amazing, and it's like you are very grateful of the compliment,
Of course, every
then,
time, yeah.
But then you're just like, well, how did I get 3 likes? These Gene Stealer cult, which have done 4-step highlights.
This is a true story.
Yeah. And then my Chaos Cultist, which right. So I've got Renegades and Heretics. They're on DZTV at the moment. You can go and see the bat rep, but
Yeah.
they're so quickly done. I mix Agrax and Null Noil together and use it as one wash. That's how like speed painted they are. They are grotesquely quickly done. And then people are like, these look nice. And I'm like,
shut up.
No, I mean, thank you. Like, I'm not being ungrateful, but these just took so little time. But your white scars, like, are sick. Your salamanders are lovely too, but your white scars are next level. But
thank you. Yeah, they're not speed painted. Luckily, they're sort of mid range painted. They're middle of the road. But yeah.
But like, we've had you've had the theme of salamanders, white scars.
Yeah.
You were like fast, and then you filled the gaps. Tell us about your other new Space Marine army, the salamanders.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? Like, what are your sort of thoughts and feelings when you put that together?
Okay, so again, all based off of the lore, because I choose armies based off of the lore initially, because if I don't like them in like the books or the background, I'm not going to collect them. Unless it's like one of those armies that just like looks so strikingly amazing, you know?
Yeah.
But in this case, yeah, I like the lore of the salamanders, and we already knew I liked Space Marines. So salamanders love flamer and melter weapons. So I went, what about a whole army of flamer and melter weapons? And that was that. That was all it was. And it was actually influenced by some outside events as well in this case, in that we're meeting up with a bunch of friends this Christmas holiday season, and we're going to replay in some way the Badab campaign, which we spoke about it in a FineCast episode not too long ago, so I won't cover all that again. But it's an old GW battle, essentially a campaign that happened for Imperium on Imperium, which led to the birth of the Red Corsairs. And the Salamanders were there in their Badab uniforms, which I've not painted them as because that's a hell of a lot of work. But I went full Firstborn because of that, because Primaris weren't about. And that was interesting as well, because I usually go somewhat Primaris, either full Primaris or a mix. This means I couldn't use any. So I started making up a list, and my thoughts were, well, tactical squads can take Flamer and Melter, so let's do that. Stern Guard don't have any of them. I have one squad in an army I don't use very often. So I was like, okay, let's go Stern Guard, full combi Flamer, full combi Melter, because that'd be fun, two 5-man squads. A Land Raider Redeemer, because that was made by the Salamanders, I believe, in the lore. So you got to have their tank. And then I had a Kratos on the way already because it was a cool tank, but no plans for it. And I thought, you know what, with how versatile that tank is with all the different options and the fact that one of its main guns is a giant melter cannon, it kind of had to be done. I think other than that, it was just 2 dreadnoughts. I got a Contemptor going into the list with, flamers or whatever I fancy at the time, to be honest. And then a Leviathan, which I don't own yet. And that's it. I went, because Salamanders are all about being artificer armor, chunky, hard to kill, and loads of flame and melter. So that's the entire reason I did that list, with a couple of dreadnoughts, a couple of tanks, and then 30 odd dudes with flamers and melters. That's it.
Did you say troops then? What have you got for troops? I didn't hear that.
3 5-man tactical squads with flamer
Nice.
Combi flamer and then 2 melter combi melter.
Nice.
That's the idea.
That's mean.
Yeah.
I like it. So tsunami with some punch, that it'll do well.
It will hurt. Yeah, it'll absolutely hurt. It's like vehicles are going to struggle against it, but I don't know how they'll do against like loads of Gribblies. Well, flamers, I suppose.
you'll just roast them to death.
Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't like the idea wasn't to, this is a list that's going to smash, because otherwise I wouldn't have brought Firstborn. But it was this is a list that's narrative and is also going to survive for a while.
Right. So it's almost like it's the same sort. It's exactly the same approach, but just it's almost like 2 different styles. Because like with White Scars, you're like fast, and then you figured out units. Whereas with Salamanders, you were like, this is a weapon, and so it's almost like flamer and melter fast. Like you've got
Yeah,
keywords, and if you have that in your mind when you're starting a new army, then
100%.
I think it's good to keep to a theme, because for you, like, because you collect all different kind of Marines, it's great because you've also got like an army that can do a certain thing, and it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
Marines, it could be anything. So like if you collected like every single army the same way, what you'd then find yourself with is a lot of armies that have got differences, but they're quite similar in their composition. So
yeah,
let's say you collected Tyranids, right?
yep.
And you picked not the equivalents, but let's say you were like, right, Tyranid warriors, 3
Hmm.
wounds, higher save. They're not the same as Marines, but you know what I'm saying. And you were like,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
I'm going to use 3 squads of 5 of them, and that's my troops, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's kind of like if you just start thinking about, right, I need to flesh it out, and you don't have an idea in your head. I think it can get to the stage where it can be too similar to ones you've already got. And I think if you're
100%.
starting
Yeah,
a new army, you should try it and go out of your comfort zone and do something that you haven't got, because it's so
yeah,
exciting to use. So it's like when I've started armies in the past, like it's not a massive leap, but with sisters, I'm halfway through sisters, but like I take squads of 10. You can take squads of 5, but I was like, no, I want to see the dynamic of that compared
yeah.
to Space Marines. And then
100% agreed. Yeah, same with Admech. Now you can
yeah,
take them in squads of 20. I want to do that. I want to see legions of Skitarii, which is what they run in the lore.
yeah.
Not that I have that many Skitarii yet, because it's a real nose to paint 20-man squads. But just having that many, like, and it's exactly as you say, yeah. So Marines for me always been 5-man. You can
Hmm.
also, of course, do 10-man, 10-man tactical squads, definitely, but 10-man intercessors doesn't really sound right to me. Maybe
No.
just because of how the game's been since 8th edition when they came. But 5-man squads. Sisters, I always ran them as 5 because it was easier and cheaper, as in cost money wise
Yeah.
and quicker to paint. But now I've got to the stage where I can run 10-woman squads, so I will, because it's different. And AdMech, it just seems like, well, the next logical step is to really hate myself and go for full 20 robot squads.
It would be cool that though. It's like leaning into what's like it's like leaning into what's special about the army and then running with that as a theme. Like you've done for
100%.
both of the Space Marines. So then what you've got there, if you look at your White Scars and you look at your Salamanders, both Space Marines, both Power Armor have got the same stats. They've got the same units
Completely
available to
different,
them,
though.
but
Yeah.
they're totally different ways of playing an army. But
Yeah.
you've still also got, we're going back to this. You've still got OBSEC on both of them, and you've still got anti-tank, and you've
Yeah.
still got anti-horde, and you
And
can go on. So
so yeah, and an extra bonus, but with the current edition of 40k being what it is, somewhat complex,
yeah,
it has the same stat lines, like you said. So even though they play differently and they're doing different things, and they still have that utility that you were just mentioning then of having OBSEC and having the ability to take out tanks and troops and so on. But they also have the same stat line, so I don't need to think about, oh wait, is there some kind of special rule coming into effect here,
yeah.
or is there this, that, and the other? It's just like, right, I know how Space Marines play. These ones are just better at flamers, and these ones are better at advancing and charging.
Now
That's it.
we're going to talk about Space Marines once again, so forgive us, but Space Marines are easy to talk about. Everyone understands
Versatile.
Space Marines. Now I want to discuss. So we were talking when we were hanging out the other day, and we were talking about building lists when you've already got loads of models. So
Yeah.
Sultan's approach: start off here. When you start an army, you need OBSEC, you need anti-tank, you need anti-armor. What's going to happen is if you're enjoying that army, you're just going to collect loads and loads. So
Yep.
I'm sat here and I'm in my hobby room, and behind me is roughly 7,500 points of painted Minotaurs.
Many,
So
many.
lots of bronze Space Marines, and there's some of my painting desk still to go.
It's a shame they're such dickheads.
Well, look, one might say that that's the allure of the Minotaurs. I certainly would. I feel a kin. I feel a
Well, like attracts like.
exactly. It's a calling, sort of. It's a vocation. But yeah. So we were talking about this, and because we're going to the Hobby Apocalypse Day at the end of this month, you should come buy your
Yeah.
tickets. And the day before, it's a full weekend. It's going to be the DZTV Open Day.
It's going to be too much 40k.
There's never too
There's never
much,
too much.
like
Never
Luther
too
Vandross
much.
said. But so everyone's bringing a 1,500 point army to the DZTV Open Day, and we're all playing games. And
Yeah.
so we all had to figure out a list of what to bring, and we were told to bring You could bring whatever we want, but they said if you want to bring, the army that you're most known for, then bring that. Sultan was exempt from that because he collects that many Space Marine armies that it's just like they can't
as
keep
long
up.
as it's Space Marines,
As long
they
as
don't
it's Space
care.
Marines, yeah. Sultan plays Space Marines.
Could have been Templars, could have been Blood Angels, could have been Death Watch. I actually own all those armies.
It's
Grey
it's
Knights.
an addiction.
It's a problem.
You just keep rattling off as you remember them. You're like Void Walkers,
Crimson Fists. Yeah, Void Walkers. I run them as Crimson Fists.
But yeah, so like, I basically I'm taking a list, and it's a ludicrous list, and I'll explain
Death
to
Guard.
everybody. I'm taking it's 1,500 points.
Yes.
My model count is 17. No,
it's amazing.
18 models. It's all Terminators. I'm not going to run Armor of Contempt. I forgot about Armor of Contempt. I'm not running it because that'll make for a really upsetting day for everybody involved, including me. It's a Land Raider, it's a Spartan, it's 3 squads of 5 Terminators, and it's a Terminator captain and a Terminator
I bloody
chaplain.
love it.
And so this is and this is what I want to say is we're gonna say Sultan's advice when you start an army is very important. It needs to do certain stuff as you get to grips with the army, as you learn what the army can do. It needs to have all the utility you possibly can to do the jobs you need to do. But once you've been collecting and playing that army for a bit, then you can start branching out and doing the exciting thing. And my advice is when you're at a position where you're really comfortable and you've got a lot of points and it's option paralysis, my advice is to pick a theme and then go with it in a crazy way. If you
turn up to 11, yeah.
If you want to mix it up with your games, if you want to do something, don't get comfortable. So my thinking for this list is twofold, and this is the God's honest truth. One is less models, so I can have a beer and not worry, and I'm not moving loads of models. So I've got like 3 squads.
That's big.
I put 2 units down at the start of the game. When we're deploying, I put a Land Raider down and I put my Spartan down, and I go, right, that's me deployed. So I don't have to worry about that, and people are inside. And then as I'm taking models off the table, as in tank gets destroyed, I'm replacing it with models. So there's even less models going to be on the table. It's genius. But it's like, so that was thinking 1. And thinking 2, it's like I had this idea in mind. I was like, right, what if the elite of the elite would turn up? And what if like it was like a 300 vibe, and it's like the captain with all his best men, only a few Marines, but what would that look like? And would they be badass? My original thing that I really wanted to do but I couldn't was just have the Spartan on the table and fill it as full of stuff, but it wouldn't have been 1,500 points. The Land Raider had to come too.
What you need is another Spartan.
Is that what he's telling me? So. I think you need 2 Spartans at 400 points.
Or a Bronze Thunderhawk.
Well, I've got a Storm Raven.
That works. That's cool.
Could have that.
Holds a Dreadnought.
But like that was another thing as well. For King in the North, there was some event that I'd planned for it as well. I never ended up using the list because it didn't come about. I think it was the first DZ. There was like a DZ event that got cancelled due to COVID or something.
Oh yeah.
Right at the start of the games.
It's like 2020. Yeah.
I had that list. It was 2 squads of scouts, and it was a Storm Raven with loads of stuff in, and that was the list. So it started off with like 10 models on the it was only 1 squad of
at
scouts.
the time the cheapest troops you could get before they moved slot. Yeah,
but it was the idea of the scouts saying here's the trouble, and they come in. So it's like
that's exactly what I've done with the White Scars. You just did it with the flying unit as the backup instead of bikes,
right? So
perfect. Yeah,
so like it's almost like contradicting advice, but what I think is don't be afraid to go out on a limb once you've mastered the army. Like Sultan's advice of picking a theme, going with it, making sure you're covering your bases when you start an army, I think is super important. But once you've got further into it and you've painted up loads and you're thinking, how am I going to use this army today? And you've played loads of games with them, my advice is don't get stuck in similar patterns and take the same stuff all the time. So it's like you don't have to take troops. If you make it a bit more challenging, if you're really good with your army, then push yourself a little bit. Take a bit less of that. Sultan's advice.
Just take a patrol or something.
Exactly, or take like a Vanguard or something like that. Or take an Outrider.
Love a Vanguard.
Like for Sultan, I think it's so important. When you get to 2,000 points, your White Scars have got enough in them. Well, maybe if you painted 5 more troops, right?
Yeah.
You've got enough where, let's say you had like an event, or you went to not like a tournament or anything, but there was an event and it said, right, you can only have 1 detachment, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I run the King of the North tournament. You're only allowed 1 detachment, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just find if I do that, then it stops some,
It's neater.
like,
Yeah.
it's neater, stops shenanigans happening, and I like that sort of that challenge for some people of how they're going to fit the detachment in. But it's like, you need to have an army that can fit all occasions to start off with. But as your collection grows, you know how to use that army more, and you're also more comfortable with it. You can start challenging yourself and start pushing yourself, because
Definitely.
it's like, my list sounds scary. It's like, ooh, but as soon as if it's an objective based game, which
That's it. Yeah.
I think I'm not sure if we're choosing as like the regulars from DZTV, but
Not Scooby.
if we are, I'll push for an objective based game, because what I want that challenge. It's like powerful in that it's all Terminators, but it's not going to be that powerful, because
you could have 5 of them sat on objective, as long as there's somebody's, a sister of battle standing there. She's still holding the objective.
exactly, 1,000,000% Sultan, and it's also like also. It's all in one vehicle. That vehicle doesn't move fast, so I've got no mobility. Because as soon as the Terminators get out, let's say you destroy that vehicle, Terminators move 5 inches. So that's me trying to get to you in combat, because I've got so little gun for the rest of the game. But
and you can't advance that vehicle because you give up all your shooting.
Exactly. So what I love about that is, it's like, right, how am I going to play this? What am I going to do here? And it might not work out. Like, you might not be in a winning position all the time, but it's because I think it's like, if you've got a big army, I think pushing yourself and going with different themes and sort of pushing the edges of what's possible, I think is really cool. I think for you as well, like with your new Salamanders, like I love the challenge of, like, for Space Marines, of just Firstborn.
Yeah, well, the obvious choices for Salamanders are Aggressors with Flamers and the Eradicator guys with the Melters.
Yeah.
Like, because they're so good. And with Salamanders, they're doubly good. But when we were doing the Bad Ab campaign, I was like, oh, As Be Firstborn, that's better. I prefer that. I don't feel naughty bringing all those. So yeah, and it's absolutely right what you say. When you get to a bigger army, variety is the spice of life. Because I was lucky enough to go to Canada. I almost said calendar then. I went to Canada with Winters and Liam to meet Mini Wargaming back in May, and I had to bring an army with me. Clearly, we were flying, so you can only bring so much with you. So I brought about 2,000 or 3,000 points of Tau, maybe 4,000 points of Tau at a push.
Wow!
But that was I packed them so tight in that box.
I saw. Sultan's got this like magnetic storage thing. It's
Battle foam,
cool.
yeah.
He was like sending pictures, and it was like. It was like an Escher painting, like when all the models are like going down different stairs on different planes of dimensions. And I remember you messaging me going, I found it. Jess had this idea, Sultan's partner, and he was like, what I'll do is I'll just put drones in a biscuit tin and the magnetized, and I'll just put that in my suitcase. And I'm like,
yeah.
This is next level packing. This
I managed to bring 40 drones with me. I didn't use half of them, but I managed to bring 40 drones with me because they were in a little biscuit tin. It was great. It wasn't even a biscuit tin; it was a little dice tin, and they because drones are so small, they just go snip, snip, snip inside. Not the point of this, but so I was there for 10 days, and in that time, I played 10 plus games, and we filmed a chunk of them. And even with 4,000 points, I love Tau. I haven't played them since because it was a lot of using similar lists over and over again. Because, there's always the core of bring a couple of troops, even if you go weird, I still only had like certain units to fill certain slots. So I always had to bring my commanders. Mm-hmm. I always had to bring a squad of crisis suits or something, or a Riptide, because otherwise I just couldn't make the points up.
Yeah.
Even though I had 4,000 points, I probably only had 1 or 2 fully fleshed out lists that would work at a 2,000 point level.
Yeah.
Because I was just bringing lots of extra stuff to swap in and out. So yeah, like by the end of it, I was like, I kind of wish I could like swap out these fire warriors for, or even better, like I wanted to not only just have the fire warriors, I wanted to have pathfinders, and I wanted to do a full infantry list. Or instead of doing all crisis suits, I wanted hazard suits, or to bring in more of those little dustbin missile things that look so good, or have a whole full list of piranhas and tetras and stuff.
Yeah.
But I couldn't because of the limiting nature of the list. So the lessons learned from that are, that is what it was. You can only pack so much to take abroad with you. But the lessons were like, oh, actually, after playing this for 10 days in a row or whatever, I quite fancy adding to this so I can run different lists. So yeah, variety as it is the spice of life.
I think as well when you get good at an army, like I know Space Marines inside and out now, and so I
Yeah.
like playing with them. But I love bringing weirder, different lists because
Oh yeah.
it's almost
Lost
like
in the Damned. Yeah.
it's like a handicap, but in a good way because it's like, right, I don't have obsec, or I don't have this, or I don't have what I'd usually have. How am I going to solve that problem? And I feel like it's a really good brain exercise, and it's a good like sort of different way of playing 40k where you're sort of on the back foot. So
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like I enjoy that challenge because one of my favorite things is when I'm collecting 40k or I'm making a list, I figure out the theme and I thought, wouldn't this be cool if it looked like this? I write the
Yeah.
list and then I like going on the table and then playing as good as I can on the table with what I've been given. So
Yeah.
like if I brought like all my stuff, like I've got eradicators and I've got blade guard and I've got other stuff, and if I brought all the stuff that was top tier and I put it on the table, then I wouldn't have to think as much because it's like it'd be so forgiving and it would just do what it has. But
Oh yeah.
I love making it just that little bit tricky. So when I get on the table, it's like, oh right, well, how am I going to get out of this?
And then if it does go well, you're so like pleased because you're like, I didn't expect it to go this way. Yeah.
It feels more earned, weirdly. Like you sort of like solve this puzzle, and then also right, if I take the proper bad boy stuff and I wreck face, then I kind of feel bad. Whereas if I take stuff that's not as good, then I can not be gamey, but then I can be as like trying to do
You don't have to hold back.
no,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And you can just be like, right, well I've got firstborn Marines, or if I'm doing like Tyranids, I'll take the stuff that isn't as good. Like in eighth, when I like the old
Yeah.
codex, I'd take like a Turvigon, which wasn't very good at all, and I'd take
That's
like a
amazing.
Lictor,
Yeah.
and I'd take like Hormagaunts and stuff like that. And if I did well with them, I would feel good. But I'd be like trying to maximize it, and that feeling of being on the edge, and I really need to concentrate at some points. It's a good
Yeah.
feeling, man.
That's actually where some armies lean into that really lovely, and we call them finesse armies.
Yeah.
And one that I'm coming to grips with, and I intend to play a lot more now. The previous one I was using was kind of Tau, because you have to play them cleverly, because you can't just throw them into the enemy like you can Marines, but they've been toughened up since 9th edition and so on. So they're not as difficult now. Their Tau shooting is brutal. But the main one I'm dealing with at the moment is Drakari, because they are a trading army. You are going to lose models, and you are going to have to trade units for units because they're so squishy. So unless you go for the full like racks and the homunculus stuff, but I generally run a real space raid, so like a little bit of everything. So narratively, the flavor with that is amazing. Gameplay wise, it's 3 different armies in one playing in synergy with overlapping buffs that either affect other units or they don't. They can all like share vehicles and so on. It's very confusing, but once you get it right and you see it start to come together, it's just such a great feeling because you're mastering this army that's not rules wise not difficult, but it's just lots of little things overlapping, and also they're so squishy on the table. You can't just run them. If you run them into the wrong position, they're dead. You've failed.
Yeah.
But if you start getting that trading right, like we played a game the other day, and you were letting me try out my incubi, so we were pulling some punches in a few areas, but there was one bit where you used your big Spartan to blow up a raider, and then 10 witches came out, 5 of them got killed, but then because they're so choppy, even though they're so squishy, they're so choppy, they still managed to achieve what they needed to do. So they traded their vehicle and half their number to wipe out some Terminators. So it's that getting that right, it was like, aha, that works.
Yeah, like sort of figuring out that equation, like the whole trading thing. You're so right. Like, and then I always said to you, because I was like, right, how many points for those witches? And you were saying like
Less than 200.
It
Yeah.
was like so few points. And then my Terminator squad was like 250 or whatever it was. I can't
Yeah,
remember which one
yeah.
it was, but it was
Same with the Incubi, right? 90 points for 5 dudes, and
they.
they took apart a Spartan.
Well, yeah. Before that,
It's
they
outrageous.
killed like a
Yeah.
Terminator and a Terminator captain, and it's
Yeah.
that trading thing. And so, yeah, I think that's it. That's again a proper good example of like although, like we started this off by saying our hobby apocalypse armies are they need a bit of work. All yours needs is a bit more of a shuffle and maybe some transports for the right units and stuff like that. Because the way we do hobby apocalypse is we want to show people the models and the hobby side of it. So if Sultan just came out and just said, right, I'm doing like 4 Ravagers and 6 Venoms or whatever, it doesn't make for good telly. It doesn't make for good
Yeah.
content. So we have to make lists that are a bit daft. But like you have got that theme of real space raid, and then it's like,
I
right,
love it. Yeah.
how do I make this work? And then you're starting to see and put the pieces together of like, right, what do I need here, there? If it wasn't Hobby Apocalypse, what you'd have probably done, I'm guessing, is you'd have done like, Marines back to front, right? But whereas
Yeah.
Drakari, you would have probably gone, right, real space raid, and then started looking into it as to like, right, how am I going to make this army work and what can it do, right?
Yeah, I already kind of did that, but now having had the experience with it, I would have changed a few things up. That was all. Yeah, it was always going to be, and this is what the kind of theme of the video is lean into the lore or the feeling of that army.
Yeah.
The Games Workshop writers, rules writers, yes, they make mistakes. Yes, they miss big synergies and stuff, but narrative rule writing, they are amazing at.
Yeah.
So with the Drakari, the narrative, the fact they let you have 3 guys, you have a warlord who's an archon, but then 3 guys with 3 warlord traits and X amount of relics, and they're allowed to lead their own troops in. You can upgrade all these guys to make them better because they're favored retinues or whatever, is on the tabletop can be a little bit nasty. But in the narrative sense, if you're making it purely from like I'm just going to have fun, you're like, this has got so much character and flavor, and that's exactly what you want from an army.
I think as well is so we've given these advice of like theming, make sure your armies can do this. If you've got an existing army, you want to spice it up, sort of going out a mad direction. But also, if you haven't done that, right, and if you've played an army and you've gone, oh no, it's not. I've bought and painted these models and it's not quite what I wanted and stuff. Persevere and play a game with them. Play your next game with them, even though you might not want to use that army. Explain to your opponent that you're still learning, but figure out what would still go with the theme, but what that army needs. Use that game as a learning experience, because I
Yeah.
think like there's too many people that like collect an army and then go, no, they're rubbish because they've lost like however many games with it. But A, it doesn't matter if you lose games or not. But B, like try and think, right, well, what would make this better? It still goes on with the theme that I want, but what am I missing in this army? Because as soon as you play that game where you're like, oh, I've not used these for months and I'm not looking forward to this, and it might just be that because you're lacking just one of the 3, like you lacking some obsec or you're lacking some anti horde or some anti armor, you'll be able to figure that out if you play with them. And yeah, the finesse armies
and speak to people.
Exactly,
Like
yeah.
Discords, both the deployment zone and the Winter's SEO Discords are great places to go to ask friendly people for advice. And it's a completely like guilt-free zone or shame-free zone. If you don't know how to play your army because you're brand new, people will help you and give you suggestions. No one will ever tell you. And if they do tell you, go to one of the moderators because that's just telling you what to do, which is wrong. But if they're giving you suggestions or helping you out, there's so many narratively minded people who still know how to turn it on when it comes to the game, so they can give you narrative and yet totally viable in quotes options to make your list a bit better.
1,000,000%, because most of the time it probably just needs like 1 or 2 extra models or units, or sometimes even just a different perspective of how you do things. Like especially when you have finesse armies, like Space Marine's a bit more forgiving, but as Sultan was saying with his Drakari, like the learning curve is mildly steep, but if you keep persevering, like just use Sultan. In when we played the game on camera and the game off camera, even the game off camera, you were like, oh right, so this happened and then this happens, right? Well, I can see how this is more effective. And
stacking things in a certain way can make them do what they're meant to do, essentially. Various units. So very interesting.
I think it's I think so. I think we've covered everything in terms of, but I think list building is a lot more important than people realize. List building doesn't always mean it has to be super. List building is about being competitive. Necessarily, it's not about
it can be, but it's not in this
be.
situation.
It's not about learning like a dick kicking list or something that you can smash other people in. I think if you build a good list, you set yourself up for having a really fun time that can be as challenging as you want, as daft as you want, or it can be as interesting as you want. So do the work, and especially when you're making a new army, make sure you've got, because then you avoid having an army that you don't like, because if you do a little bit of work at the start, you can have an army that you'll have a lot of fun with. And that's important.
Wonderful thoughts. Chris, any thoughts from you? Oh, wait, he's an idiot. He's not here.
Hello, I got a Monster Energy drink stuck up my bum. That was. Do you like
Nitro Speed? Yeah.
I thought.
Oh, Chris. You.
I didn't, somehow, even my impression wasn't the worst one. There wasn't the.
That's all he does, isn't it? He just makes noise like.
But,
Thanks, Chris.
Sultan, we've done a semi-serious, quite in-depth hobby podcast. What's wrong with us?
We're missing. I'm not going to call him the spice, because I think together the three of us make the spice.
He's the agitator.
He's what it is we're the Weetabix. He's the milk, right? We're the flavor. We're like the bulk of the food you eat. He just allows you to swallow us.
No,
what?
Excuse me. No, we're the delicious, finely balanced, nutritionally complete meal. And
he's an Oreo.
He's the hot sauce that comes over it and just drenches the meal, so it's exciting, but all the flavor's gone and it's just burning insanity.
It's like when your mum makes you a lovely roast dinner on a Sunday when you've gone to visit, and then you just pour the entire jug of gravy over it and it's swimming.
just cheap crappy Bisto, and it just gets it all down that gullet even quicker, right?
Cristo.
But it's good. I like having
that. Was amazing. Underrated. I'm just gonna say it.
Sorry.
Did you not hear that?
I did. Yeah. I did hear it. I was
good.
busy looking
Thank
at. I was busy looking at reviews. So that's on.
Oh
me.
Yeah, there's those. Go for it.
On me. Well, no, I want to say. I like that we've got this nice sort of. Meandering, we can be silly, but we can also turn it on serious. I mean, it's going to completely ruin our listenership because they don't know what to expect, and the serious people are here enjoying this, and the funny people are like, get this.
They should just get fucking used to it.
Everyone get used to it. We're just going to talk about what we want to talk about. Yeah, it's a FineCast, baby. That's how
we're not the problem.
You're the problem. Thanks. But yeah, that's episode. What I don't even know what episode it is. 12, 13 in the bag. Some,
maybe 12 or 13. Yeah, you know what? If no one listened, it wouldn't be a problem. So deal with it.
I've had a nice time. So have you had a nice time?
I had a lovely time. Yeah.
Well, so we're gonna do all the rigmarole and all the housekeeping. First of all, the intro music and outro music was done. If I'm editing it tonight, so hopefully it was done. If I can figure it out, was done by the wonderful, talented LA French. You can find
Bandcamp.
You can find his stuff on lafrench.bandcamp.com. And if you're into all that lo-fi hip hop nonsense,
DJ Brapscallion,
you can check out mine. I've got 2 EPs out now.
It's good.
You listened to it? Is it all right?
Yeah, of course I did. I like lo-fi. Yeah, oh, I genuinely listen to lo-fi as a matter of habit.
Well, I made
it's chill. It's super
chill. I made it for you. I was just trying to impress you.
Can you name one Sultan of the Stars, and then I'll set it as my everything tone.
All right, game. I mean, it's the cringiest name ever, but I'll figure out some way to.
Or Sultan of Your Heart doesn't really work.
Oh,
but...
well, maybe not for you. But yeah, my stuff's on brapscallion.bandcamp.com. It's all free to download. But yeah, go and check out LA French. He's a good old boy. He's got an album coming out later in the year. We'd also like to say thank you. We've got a new review. One of the best things you can do for us as the podcast is write us a review on wherever you listen to your podcast, because if you do that, it actually recommends it to people who don't listen to us, and it comes up on their feed wherever.
And you actually allow Chris to get an erection for the first time in many months.
Oh,
otherwise he can't do it.
If he
so
sees a 5-star
helps.
review, he goes from flaccid to fully turgid for 45 seconds at least. And
lucky wife.
he just shouts. He goes, "Mrs. Warsmith, get the inflatable bed. The time has come."
And she goes, "Oh, Christo."
And she goes, "No, I'm busy doing crochet." So thank you to Tana Cell for the awesome review. If you would leave us a review, it would be absolutely amazing. Whatever podcast platform you listen to, if you want to listen to us on any other different one, so if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to us on podcast and want to listen to us on YouTube, go to bonemagic.com. We've made it super easy. All our links are there so you can listen to it on any platform. It'll also take you to our Instagram and it'll take you absolutely everywhere. So everyone following us, everybody liking all our posts, it's dead good. Sultan,
I listen on Spotify.
We need to. Do you listen on Spotify?
Well, sometimes. Like if it's a particularly good episode, I want to hear it back. Sometimes
I like listening sometimes because I like listening to the sound of used to voices. It keeps me company. And I think
it's just your voice.
Yeah, just not my voice in it. Well, I like the sound of my own voice. And...
White noise machine. Sorry, that's racist.
But yeah, if you go to bonemagic.com, you can find out all the ways to listen to us. But also, recommend us to a friend. Just what you need to do is just go into someone's Instagram inbox or the Discord DMs or the Facebook.
We can say go into someone's house.
Go into someone's house and just type bonemagic.com and then just write Bon Appetit underneath it and then don't say anything else. Now,
just stand in the corner with in the darkest corner in the room. They don't even need to be a friend, right? But you've put it on their computer. You just stand in the corner. When they come in and go, "What the hell?" You just go, "Watch it," from the corner, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And then they'll turn it on and go, "We can't watch it. It's not a video," and they'll say, "Shut up."
Or what you could do is do that, but with a number of different houses, and just leave an iPad with the podcast running in each house.
Like a modern Jack the Ripper. Bounce between the police, house to house. You don't get caught. Everyone's like, how the hell did he double back? But instead of Jack the Ripper, you're Jack the Clicker.
Yeah, just Jack the nice person that gives out iPads.
Jack the Clicker.
So just buy an iPad, leave it in someone's house, subscribe to the FineCast on it, leave it playing so we get the views, and then go to someone else's house, another iPad, leave that out. I mean, it's foolproof. But for everybody listening, everybody still joining us on this road, we love it. There's loads of people listening, and we really appreciate it. And thank you for putting up with Man and Sultan's serious but hopefully helpful nonsense this evening.
Who knows if it was helpful, but it was definitely serious.
I'm
wearing a suit.
I've been wearing top hat and tails this whole time, and I tell you what, if you thought I was sweaty the other day, Sultan, with a t-shirt and shorts on, you should see me now. I'm like that guy in X-Men who comes up off the beach and he's made of water.
You're a senator.
Well, a spare time. Right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to us, and until next time, we will see you later.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.